Dr. Eleanor L. Reyes wiped the sweat from her brow, the fine dust of Kepler 438 coating her skin like ancient makeup. The exoplanet's twin suns beat down mercilessly through the atmospheric dome that protected the dig site. 54 days into the expedition, and the tomb, if that's what it truly was, had finally begun to yield its secrets. "Harper, give me another stabilizer for this section," Elle called to her assistant. She bent down, her knees protesting after hours of careful excavation. The alien architecture before her defied conventional understanding. Geometric angles that seemed to shift when observed from different perspectives, materials that reflected no known manufacturing process in the Galactic database. Harper Okoro, a postdoc with more enthusiasm and experience, bounded over with the requested equipment. Their dark eyes widened at the new exposure. "Is that writing?" Elle nodded, a familiar thrill coursing through her veins. New xenographic samples were rare these days, especially from civilizations predating humanity's interstellar expansion. "The third variation we have found, older than the others, if the stratification is to be trusted." She ran her scanner over the symbols, watching as the device's AI attempted translations based on the Rosetta database compiled from 2 centuries of xenolinguistic research. The symbols pulsed with a faint bioluminescence, responding to the light from her instrument. "Any matches?" Harper asked, leaning in too close for Elle's comfort. "Not yet. This is entirely..." The scanner beeped, interrupting her. Elle frowned at the readout. "That can't be right." Harper peered at the screen. "What is it?" "It's flagging a 12% correlation with pre-Sumerian pictographs. Earth, circa 8,500 BC. That's impossible," Harper said, voicing what Elle was thinking. "These ruins are at least 50,000 years old, and Kepler 438b is 470 light-years from Earth." Elle didn't respond immediately. The implications were either revolutionary or the result of a software glitch. She toggled through the scanner settings, recalibrating against known standards. Dr. Reyes called a voice from across the dig site. Captain Wei Lin, head of security for the expedition, strode toward them with purpose. "We have got movement on the eastern perimeter." Elle straightened, grimacing at the pain in her lower back. "Indigenous life forms?" "No." Wei's expression was unreadable behind her tactical visor. "Ships. 3 of them, closing fast. They are not broadcasting colonial authority identifiers." Elle felt her stomach sink. "Scavengers?" Wei nodded grimly. "Most likely. They must have picked up our comm traffic. We need to secure the site and prepare for potential hostilities." "Damn it." Elle looked down at the newly uncovered section, the symbols still glowing faintly. "We can't leave this exposed. Harper, help me get the preservation shields in place." As they rushed to protect their discovery, Elle couldn't shake a strange feeling that had been growing since they had first breached the outer chamber of the tomb 3 weeks ago. Unlike any archaeological site she'd worked on during her 20-year career, this place seemed to respond to human presence. Temperature fluctuations, subtle changes in light, even atmospheric composition shifts, all correlating with the team's movements. It was as if the tomb was studying them. 0.4 hours later, Elle found herself in the expedition's command hub, a prefabricated structure that served as the operational center for their research mission. Captain Wei had confirmed what they all feared. A band of interstellar looters had detected their activity and come to claim whatever artifacts might fetch a price on the black market. They have established an orbit and are sending down landing craft, Wei reported to the assembled team. 12 individuals, heavily armed. My security team can hold them off, but not indefinitely. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, the expedition's senior xenobiologist, cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should consider negotiation. Offer them some of the less significant artifacts in exchange for our safety." Elle shook her head vehemently. "Absolutely not. Every piece here is contextually vital. Give them one thing, and they will take it all." She turned away. "How long until colonial authority reinforcements arrive?" "The nearest patrol is 3 days out, minimum," Wei replied. Harper, who had been unusually quiet, spoke up. "What about the inner chamber? The one with the energy readings we haven't been able to access?" All eyes turned to the young researcher. Elle considered the suggestion. They had discovered what appeared to be a sealed inner sanctum, blocked by a barrier of unknown composition that had resisted all attempts at penetration. Their scans indicated some form of energy source within, active even after millennia. It's too risky, Elle said finally. We have no idea what's in there or how to safely access it. For all we know, it could be a weapons system, or it could be a defensive measure, Harper countered. These builders were advanced, possibly even more so than current human technology. If the tomb was designed to protect something important. Elle shared a look with Wei, who gave a slight nod. What are you suggesting exactly? I have been analyzing the symbols we have uncovered, Harper said, activating their tablet to display a holographic rendering. The patterns repeat in specific sequences, always leading toward the inner chamber. It's not just writing, it's directions. Elle studied the display, recognizing Harper's work as building upon her own translations. Even if you were right, we still can't breach the barrier. I don't think we need to breach it, Harper replied. I think we just need to ask. Ask. Dr. Tanaka scoffed. It's a structure, not a sentient being. Harper continued undeterred. The tomb responds to our presence. The bioluminescence activates when we approach specific sections. The temperature regulates to maintain human comfort levels. What if it was built for humans to find? A heavy silence fell over the room. Elle felt a chill that had nothing to do with the climate controls. That's quite a leap, Harper. Is it? Harper swiped through more images on their tablet. Look at these proportions. The doorways, the corridors, they are perfectly sized for human ergonomics. And now we find symbols with connections to ancient Earth languages. Correlation doesn't equal causation, Tanaka muttered, but Elle could see doubt in his eyes. Wei checked her tactical display. Whatever we're going to do, we need to decide quickly. The looters will reach the perimeter in 20 minutes. Elle made her decision. Harper, show me these directions. Wei, position your team to delay the intruders as long as possible without risking lives. She turned to Tanaka. Prepare emergency evacuation protocols, just in case. As the group dispersed, Elle pulled Harper aside. This theory of yours, you are suggesting what, exactly? That an alien civilization 470 light years from Earth somehow knew about humans 50,000 years ago. Harper met her gaze steadily. I'm suggesting that maybe they weren't as alien as we think. The approach to the inner chamber required passing through a series of increasingly narrow corridors, each adorned with the same mysterious symbols that had first captured Elle's attention. Harper led the way, confident in their interpretation of the xenographic directions. See how the symbols change here, they pointed out. They're becoming more complex, more mathematical. Elle nodded, recording everything with her ocular implant. It's like a primer, teaching the basics before moving to advanced concepts. Exactly. Harper's excitement was palpable, like the Arecibo message, but in reverse. Instead of humans broadcasting mathematical concepts to potential alien civilizations, this is someone broadcasting to humans. Elle finished, the implications making her dizzy. They reached a junction where the corridor split into 3 branches. Harper hesitated, consulting their notes. The central path, I think. The symbols indicate a convergence point. As they proceeded, Elle noticed the bioluminescence growing stronger, pulsing in rhythm like a heartbeat. The air became warmer, charged with a static electricity that made the fine hairs on her arms stand on end. We are close, Harper whispered, unnecessarily. The corridor ended abruptly at a curved wall that shimmered with an opalescent light. The barrier to the inner chamber. Up close, it resembled a liquid more than a solid. Yet when Elle cautiously extended her hand toward it, she met firm resistance. How do we ask it to let us in? Elle murmured, studying the surface. Harper pointed to a series of indentations beside the barrier, 7 depressions arranged in a familiar pattern. These match the arrangement of stars in the Pleiades cluster, as viewed from Earth. Another Earth connection, Elle noted. She placed her hand near the indentations, and the bioluminescence intensified, racing along the walls in excited patterns. The barrier before them rippled like disturbed water. Harper's breath caught. It's responding to you. Try placing your hand directly on it. El Hisetativ. 20 years of archaeological training screamed against such a direct interaction with an unknown artifact. But 20 years of instinct told her Harper was right. This place had been waiting for human contact. She pressed her palm against the barrier. Instead of resistance, Her hand passed through as if the surface were nothing more substantial than mist. A tingling sensation spread up her arm, not unpleasant but alien. "It's letting me through," she said, wonder and fear mingling in her voice. Harper moved to follow, but Elle held up her free hand. "No, I go first. If anything happens to me, get back to the command hub and evacuate." Before Harper could protest, Elle stepped fully into the barrier. For one disorienting moment, she felt suspended between states of matter, her consciousness stretched across dimensions she couldn't comprehend. Then, with a sensation like breaking through the surface of water, she emerged into the inner chamber. The space before her defied explanation. It was both vast and intimate, boundaries shifting in ways her mind struggled to process. In the center stood a raised platform, upon which rested what could only be described as a sarcophagus. Though unlike any burial container in human experience, Elle approached slowly, her scanner forgotten in her hand. The sarcophagus appeared to be made of the same opalescent material as the barrier, but solid. Its surface was covered with the now familiar symbols, but rendered with such precision and complexity that they seemed to move, telling stories in a language just beyond her comprehension that a sound behind her made her turn. Harper stumbled through the barrier, gasping. "I told you to wait," Elle chided, but without heat. She understood the irresistible pull of discovery. "Captain Wei says the looters have engaged her perimeter teams," Harper reported between breaths. "We don't have much time." They looked around, eyes widening at the impossible architecture. "My God, what is this place?" Elle turned back to the sarcophagus. "I think it's exactly what we first thought, a tomb. But not just any tomb." She circled the platform, studying the symbols from all angles. With each step, the bioluminescence followed her, highlighting different sections of the text as if guiding her reading. "Harper, are you recording this?" "Every bit," they confirmed, their own ocular implant blinking its record light. Elle completed her circuit, coming to stand at what appeared to be the head of the sarcophagus. There, a distinct panel of symbols glowed more intensely than the rest. Without conscious thought, she found her hand moving toward it. "Doctor, should you?" Harper began. Elle's fingers made contact with the panel. Instantly, the entire chamber blazed with light. The symbols on the sarcophagus animated fully, flowing like liquid mercury across its surface. A seam appeared down the center of the container, widening slowly. "Get back," Elle ordered, though she herself remained rooted in place. The sarcophagus opened completely, releasing a soft hiss of preserved atmosphere. Elle leaned forward, peering inside. What she saw forced a gasp from her lungs. Within the container lay a humanoid figure, perfectly preserved, not mummified or decayed, but appearing as if in deep sleep. Its features were unmistakably similar to Homo sapiens, with subtle but distinct differences: a slightly elongated cranium, enlarged eyes beneath closed lids, skin with a faint bluish undertone. "That's impossible," Harper whispered. Having crept forward despite Elle's warning, Elle's scientific mind raced to process what her eyes were seeing. A convergent evolution, perhaps. Another species that developed along similar lines to humanity. Even as she offered the explanation, she knew it was inadequate. The being before them was too similar, the tomb too deliberately designed for human interaction. Her scanner, forgotten until now, beeped insistently. Elle glanced at the readout and felt her knees weaken. DNA analysis. 98.7% match with modern human genome, she read aloud. "That's closer than Neanderthals were to us." The chamber shuddered suddenly, dust raining from the impossible ceiling. A distant boom echoed through the structure. "The looters must have breached the main site," Harper said, fear evident in their voice. Elle barely heard them. Her attention was fixed on the sarcophagus, where a new development was unfolding. A sphere of light had formed above the preserved figure, expanding slowly until it filled the space above the container. Within the sphere, images began to form. Not holograms in the conventional sense, but something more fundamental, as if reality itself were being rewritten before their eyes. They saw stars, familiar constellations from Earth's night sky, then a planet that was unmistakably Earth, but with continents arranged in patterns predating recorded history. The view zoomed to show settlements, people who appeared both human and like the being in the sarcophagus, living together. My God, Elle breathed. Is this history? The images shifted, showing spacecraft, elegant vessels that seemed to bend light around them. The same hybrid population traveling among the stars, establishing outposts on distant worlds, including, Elle realized with a shock, the very planet they now stood upon. They were here, Harper said, wonder in their voice. On Earth, and here, and who knows where else. 50,000 years ago, the narrative continued, showing conflict, a war of unimaginable scale across multiple star systems, devastation, retreat, and finally, a desperate plan. Preservation centers hidden throughout the galaxy, containing the essence of their civilization. The sphere of light contracted suddenly, reforming into a smaller, denser configuration above the preserved figure's chest. It pulsed once, twice, then shot toward Elle with impossible speed. Before she could react, it had engulfed her, sinking into her skin like liquid fire. Elle cried out, dropping to her knees as information flooded her consciousness. Not just images now, but knowledge, language, history, science, philosophy, the entirety of a civilization downloading directly into her neural pathways. Harper was at her side instantly, supporting her as she swayed. Elle, what's happening? She couldn't answer, couldn't form words as the transfer continued. It felt like hours, though her rational mind knew it could only have been seconds. When it finally ceased, she remained on her knees, gasping. I understand now, she whispered. Her voice sounded strange to her ears, as if she'd suddenly acquired new vocal patterns. They were us, Harper, or rather, we are them. Harper's face showed confusion and concern. What do you mean? Elle stood shakily, turning back to the preserved figure. With her new knowledge, she recognized him immediately. This is Eridanes, one of the last guardians. When their civilization was on the brink of extinction, they enacted a final protocol. They seeded compatible worlds with their genetic material, encoded to emerge gradually through evolution. Earth was their most successful project. You're saying humans are, what? Descendants of these beings? Harper asked, struggling to comprehend. Not just descendants. We are them, reborn. Elle placed her hand on the edge of the sarcophagus. They couldn't survive as they were, so they ensured their essence would continue through us. The similarities in our DNA, our languages, our cognitive patterns, they're not coincidences. They are inheritance. Another explosion rocked the chamber, closer this time. Elle knew they had minutes at most before the looters found their way to the inner sanctum. We need to protect this knowledge, she said with sudden urgency. If it falls into the wrong hands, but how? Harper asked. We can't move the sarcophagus, and we can't hold off the looters indefinitely. Elle looked down at her hands, seeing them as if for the first time. The knowledge transferred to her included technological concepts beyond current human capability, including the tomb's operations. We don't need to move it, she said. We need to complete the cycle. She placed both hands on the control panel at the head of the sarcophagus. The symbols responded to her touch, rearranging themselves into new patterns. The chamber hummed with building energy. What are you doing? Harper asked, alarm in their voice. What Eridanes intended. Elle's fingers danced across the symbols with newfound certainty. This isn't just a tomb, it's a beacon. There are others like it throughout the galaxy, on worlds where their seeding program took root. They are waiting for us, for humans, to find them and reclaim our heritage. The humming grew louder, and the bioluminescence throughout the chamber pulsed in synchronization. The preserved figure of Eridanes began to dissolve, transforming into pure energy that swirled within the sarcophagus. The information has been transferred, Elle explained. The vessel is no longer needed. Now, the beacon activates, calling to the other tombs. Harper stared in awe as the energy coalesced into a brilliant column that shot upward, passing through the solid ceiling as if it weren't there. What will happen when the others receive the signal? Elle turned to her assistant, a sad smile on her face. Evolution, Harper. The next phase of human evolution. The knowledge I have received is only the beginning. Each tomb contains different aspects of their civilization. Together, they will complete the picture of who we were and who we can become again. The sound of weapons fire echoed through the corridors outside the chamber. Captain Wei's voice crackled over their comms. Dr. Reyes, We can't hold them much longer. You need to evacuate now. Oh, I made a decision. Harper, go back. Tell Way to prepare for immediate departure. What about you? I need to complete the sequence. It will only take another minute. Harper hesitated. I'm not leaving you. Elle fixed them with a stare that brooked no argument. The knowledge I have received must reach Earth. It's too important to risk both of us. Go. After a moment's hesitation, Harper nodded reluctantly and turned toward the barrier. They paused before stepping through. This changes everything, doesn't it? Our understanding of human origins, our place in the universe. It confirms what I have always suspected, Elle replied. That humanity's drive to explore, to reach for the stars, isn't random. It's a genetic memory calling us home. She smiled. Now go. Make sure this story is told. After Harper disappeared through the barrier, Elle returned her attention to the control panel. The final sequence was simple yet profound. A genetic key that only a human with the right DNA markers could provide. She pressed her palm against a newly formed depression in the panel, feeling a sharp sting as it sampled her blood. The chamber shuddered again, but differently this time. Purposeful rather than from external attack. The energy column widened, bathing the entire room in its brilliance. In her mind, Elle could sense the signal propagating outward, faster than light, reaching toward distant stars where other tombs waited. The barrier rippled, and 3 figures burst through, looters in mismatched combat gear, weapons raised. They faltered at the sight that greeted them. A human woman standing before a pillar of light, her expression serene despite their intrusion. Stop whatever you are doing, the leader shouted. Aiming his weapon at Elle, she turned to face them fully, unafraid. The knowledge within her included more than just history and science. It contained power. She felt it coursing through her, rewriting her at the cellular level. You are too late, she said simply. It's already done. The leader fired. The energy bolt dissipated harmlessly before reaching her. The looters backed away in confusion and fear as Elle stepped toward them. What you seek here isn't treasure, she told them. It's destiny. Humanity's destiny. As she spoke, the chamber began to fold in upon itself, the impossible architecture collapsing into dimensions beyond normal perception. The looters turned to flee, but the barrier had sealed behind them. Elle felt no fear as reality distorted around her. The knowledge told her this was not an ending, but a transformation. The tomb had served its purpose. The beacon was lit, the signal sent. Now it would return to the space between spaces, waiting for the next phase, the chamber and everything in it, including Dr. Eleanor Reyes, vanished from conventional existence. A pulse of energy swept across the planet's surface, reaching the fleeing expedition ship just as it broke atmosphere. Inside the vessel, Harper Okoro clutched their tablet containing partial records of their discovery. A wave of dizziness washed over them as the pulse passed through the ship. When it cleared, they found new information filling the device's memory. Detailed schematics, historical records, genetic maps, and a personal message from Elle. This is only the beginning. Find the others. Complete the circuit. Remember who we were, so we can become who we are meant to be. As the ship accelerated away from Kepler, 438b, a new star appeared to bloom in the planet's upper atmosphere, visible even from neighboring systems. Not a destruction, but an awakening, a declaration to the cosmos. Humanity was reclaiming its heritage. The children of the stars were coming home. 3 months later, Harper stood before the Colonial Authority Science Council on Earth, completing their testimony. The chamber was silent as the assembled officials processed what they had heard and seen in the partial recordings from the expedition. You expect us to believe, said Counselor Diaz finally, that human beings are descended from an advanced alien civilization that seeded our planet 50,000 years ago? That these beings somehow encoded their knowledge into hidden tombs scattered throughout the galaxy, waiting for us to find them? Harper met the counselor's skeptical gaze steadily. I expect you to examine the evidence, Counselor. The DNA analyses, the linguistic correlations, the technological schematics Dr. Reyes transmitted before her. Transformation. They tell a consistent story. A fantastical one, Counselor Mbeki interjected. One that contradicts everything we understand about human evolution. Does it? Harper challenged. Or does it explain what conventional science cannot? Our species' sudden cognitive leap forward, our inexplicable drive to explore beyond our world, the persistent myths of gods from the sky in virtually every ancient culture. Council chambers buzzed with murmured conversations. Harper waited, knowing they had made their case as best they could. The data they brought back had already sparked heated debates in scientific circles across Earth and its colonies. Some dismissed it as misinterpretation or outright fabrication. Others saw it as revolutionary. Admiral Chun, the military representative on the council, leaned forward. "What are these others Dr. Reyes mentioned? These other tombs? We have identified 27 potential locations based on the star maps in the data," Harper replied. "The Colonial Authority has already dispatched research vessels to the 3 nearest candidates. And if they find similar structures," asked Counselor Diaz. Harper smiled faintly, hearing Elle's voice in their mind. "Then we take the next step in our evolution, Counselor. We reclaim the stars that have always been our birthright." As the council session adjourned, Harper gazed out the chamber's vast windows at the sprawling cityscape of New Geneva. Humanity had accomplished so much, spreading to dozens of worlds across multiple star systems. Yet, according to the knowledge Elle had transmitted, their ancestors had controlled thousands of worlds, wielded energies modern physics could barely theorize, and traveled distances that current spacecraft would take millennia to cross. What might humans become with that knowledge restored? Harper's tablet chimed with an incoming priority message. A research vessel, the CAS Galileo, had reached one of the candidate locations, a seemingly barren moon orbiting a gas giant in the Tau Ceti system. Initial scans had detected energy signatures matching those from Kepler. 438b. Another tomb awaited. Another piece of humanity's true heritage. Harper smiled, feeling a sense of purpose that transcended conventional archaeology. They weren't just uncovering the past anymore. They were reclaiming the future. Somewhere beyond normal space-time, Eleanor Reyes was waiting, transformed but not gone. The first to remember, but not the last. Humanity's journey home had begun.